sometimes taking on them small steps can just be, I can't even get words. That's how it feels.
It just feels like it takes forever.
Well, I think we live in a society that maybe glorifies the quick snapback or the overnight success. Know that those folks are probably stressed. They cannot live like this for long.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a reason why there's a drug problem in that entertainment, right?
Escapism is real.
Because, we're trying to manage our stress in unhealthy ways. And it's a lot to do with because we're rushing to achieve things that we don't necessarily need to get quickly.
And sometimes being your authentic self is recognizing when you're doing too much to yourself.
I don't know. Would we schedule our time to go out to eat?
No.
I don't think so.
This is Sistas Declassified, the podcast where
Taylor
and Taryn,
your virtual sisters, share experiences, insights, and of course the juicy secrets that never leave the sister circle.
So listen up. The Declassified convos are starting now.
Welcome back to Sistas Declassified. We're real life sisters who decided to start a podcast instead of chasing quick wins.
Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe for your weekly dose of declassified moments.
Yay, so let's kind of get into our declassified moment for today.
No filter, no fluff.
Patience isn't about sitting still. It's about creating space for your dreams to grow. Good things take time, and how you wait matters.
Yeah. I thought patience would be good for us to talk about. One, because I think it was maybe like 2 episodes back, you talked about patience being something you're working on.
And I threw the phone.
Yeah, and you threw the phone. But 2, because we've been talking about aligning our goals, and last episode we harped a lot about those like small steps, and sometimes taking on them small steps can just be, I can't even get words. That's how it feels.
It just feels like it takes forever.
It feels like it takes
and you
forever.
Just want the outcome.
Right. And I think, we talked about this last episode too, like we've all been there. There are these milestones we feel like we're supposed to hit, whether it's, graduating from this certain place or being in a certain type of relationship or getting married or having kids or buying the house, hitting a certain mark in your business. Like there's just so many things that we could feel like we need to rush to get to, or that we need to get to by a certain age or a certain time. And so I think it's just important for us to talk a little bit about what it looks like to, I guess, practice patience while we wait for our aligned goal to come true.
Yeah, I think patience can be hard. And I think I've maybe mentioned this in the past, but I have a note in my phone that asks me, am I being patient? And I have to show it to myself visually when I know I'm like spiraling, because sometimes it's very easy to feel like you're not getting to where you want to be, even when you are doing the little steps every day. And the are you being patient is just my reminder. And I actually even have this year decided to tell ChatGPT the day that I start my goal.
Oh, okay.
And so I can be like, how many days has it been?
Oh, because then they can keep it real with you on how many days, and you don't have to take that much effort to say how many days.
Like I've only been doing this for 2 weeks.
You don't have to go back and flip through your notes. That's smart.
And I kind of like it. So it'll be like, actually, it's been blah, blah, blah. Like I started some supplements and stuff. And obviously when you start supplements or you start a health thing, you want to see instant change. And that's not necessarily real, but I can also know how quickly you should see change. So like one of the supplements I started taking is like after 3 to 4 weeks, you might notice this.
Right. So you shouldn't be looking for a month.
Right. Like exactly. So, but be real. But if I don't necessarily remember what day I started taking so-and-so supplement, then I'm not going to be patient with it because I don't know what day I started.
Yeah. I think patience is just super important because we see so many examples of people, I think, especially in like the celebrity world, who are maybe rushing in their careers or later reflect and realize they did things that didn't align with themselves or found themselves in traumatic situations or worse.
Or do surgeries to get the quick fix.
Yes.
The snapbacks aren't real.
They're not.
We all know that by now. But yeah, I think, they live a quick life, a fast life, and they do have to achieve their milestones quickly because they leave news cycles quickly.
15 minutes has become 15 seconds.
Yeah, they have to shock us often with their achievements in order for us to care about them.
And for them to stay relevant, in the news cycle. But I think even outside of celebrities, we could see that in the real world too. I mean, I know you explained it for yourself in your personal perspective in areas where you might be feeling a little bit rushed. But I think people could feel that in their careers, at like if you have a high pressure job, especially in like the corporate world where there's like competition and you're trying to get to a certain role, and by X number of years you expect to be a partner. Or I mean, I work in a nonprofit, so I don't really know how it works, but that's what I understand. At least when I hear my friends in the corporate space talk about it, it sounds real dog eat dog. And so if you're not in these rooms by your third year, you should leave because you're not going to move up. You're not going to get the raise. You're not going to get the promotion or whatever.
But you even have me thinking about friendships too, of like, if I meet these goals at this certain timeline and my friends don't, am I being patient with them? Because I feel like sometimes we cut people off because we're no longer equally yoked or equally on the same path. But it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's not on the same path as you if they're not going the same speed as you.
Right, because their timelines are different.
And I always, or I think about that for myself with patience. I think I often think that, like, if regardless of where someone is in their journey, whether that's ahead of me or behind me, it doesn't dictate whether I decide to move on from them. But I know that is a deal breaker for some people. Like, if I am showing up to my 9 to 5 every day, maintain a stable job, do all of these things in my life, then I want to have people around me who are doing that
and only that.
And I do agree with that to an extent, obviously.
Right. The company you keep matters.
But I think
it influences you.
I also feel like that's not fair. And I know that's kind of off from this topic a little bit, but I think there's like a level of patience that you have to have with other people too. And so that's why I'm bringing up other people, because like even in relationships, right? Like I think I have to be patient because I would like to get married and have kids, right? But I know that there's personal milestones that I have to have in order to get there. And also my partner has personal milestones that he's wanting to achieve in order to get there as well. But just because our movement isn't always the same doesn't mean that I cut it off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel that even in being married, there are some areas where I'm like, let's talk about this or let's move here. And he may be in a different space or want to talk about something else. And that doesn't mean I'm like, oh, we're divorced. You don't want to do this in the same space or same timeline as me. We're done. Right. Like that's very true. Patience is something I've learned a lot about in married life. And not because I find my husband irritating or I have no patience for him, but really because when you live your life as yourself, for yourself, by yourself, and your decisions only affect yourself, it's one way to live. But if you would like to have a relationship that is open, honest, there's communication, you know what the other person is thinking and desires, then you have to be patient.
Right. And I think that's, not just in your partner relationship. I think that's with your friends too.
With yourself.
And even your family. Because I even had talks with friends recently or not too long ago just about like, now that I'm an adult, I can express to my parents what bothered me or what upset me. And I'm expecting them to show up differently now that I've communicated that. But it's not necessarily recognizing that you have to be patient now.
Right.
Like you might have this goal for y'all's dynamic, but if you can't be patient in allowing them to adjust, then you're going to always be upset.
Correct.
Because now you're thinking they're going to change overnight because you shared something with them. But now they have to process and go through their own journey in order to show up for you in the way that you want them to.
Right. They could have been completely unaware you felt this way.
Or they're fully aware, and it's just that they still need to get it together.
Yeah, I guess.
And obviously there's still people, don't get me wrong, there's obviously people that are always could be cut off. Right. It's valid, but I guess I'm just
know your limits
about in terms of whether you were patient first before you decided that something no longer served you. Did you allow it or give it space to breathe and grow, knowing that you don't have full control over a situation?
Yeah, I think that reflection is valuable because people can be quick to feel something and then move on. So I think that's also why I thought it might be important for us to just talk a little bit about what rushing like does to your body and your brain, because it does have some long-term effects. And you know, she's the educated one, so I had to do the little Googles,
right,
to find
like this is your planned episode.
Had to do a little Googles to come in to know just like really what the long-term effects of chronic stress are. Because when we're talking about rushing, that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about activating your adrenal glands and getting excited, fight or flight or freeze, right? Or fawn. right? So,
Yeah,
what are they? Yeah,
that was right.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know stuff. Your body is preparing for whatever is about to come next. And if you're doing this all the time for everything that I guess makes you uncomfortable or stresses you in your life, there's some real effects on your body and your brain. And so the Mayo Clinic lists those specifically related to chronic stress. Some things that can happen are anxiety, depression, digestive problems, headaches, heart disease, sleep problems, weight gain, and memory and concentration impairment. All things that would probably keep you from reaching your goals.
Definitely.
And from feeling good about yourself and in yourself
generally
overall.
Right.
Right. And so while I think we live in a society that maybe glorifies the quick snapback or the overnight success, know that those folks are probably stressed.
Extremely stressed.
They cannot live like this for long,
Mhm.
should not live like this for long. And while they're doing it in the public eye, you might be doing it at home to yourself.
And there's also a reason why there's a drug problem in that entertainment, right?
Escapism is real.
Yeah. Because we're trying to manage our stress in unhealthy ways. And it's a lot to do with because we're rushing to achieve things that we don't necessarily need to get quickly.
Right. And so I guess this is a very specific area of stress that feels like it might be within your control. And so it felt like it was worth calling out today because we did all this talk about goals and being your authentic self. And sometimes being your authentic self is recognizing when you're doing too much to yourself, right? And recognizing where the pressure is coming from, because oftentimes we think it's external, but it's actually not.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually you rushing.
The beliefs that you hold inside internally, how you see the world. And maybe even how you think other people see it too. But has anyone ever actually said that or told you that? Or is that
like, where is that written?
Where did that belief come from?
I mean, I often hear my parents, the church in my head a lot.
No.
And so you said, oh, like you don't? You don't? Just
sometimes. I definitely hear dad always in my head talking about work smarter, not harder, period.
C's get degrees.
Period. No, but yeah, and I could definitely always hear your body's a temple. But I think those are the only things that really
I think those are the ones that maybe you really strongly attribute to them. I bet there's more.
I mean, yes.
I bet there's more.
Anyway, moving on. We're trying to focus on patience here.
Yeah, be patient with me. I'm trying to make sure they get all the fun details about our lives.
Yay.
We're so interesting.
But I think, how do we cultivate patience, right? I guess there's the clinically appropriate way of doing mindfulness and meditation, right? That's always something that is available to you. And I'm not saying it like it's a mockery. It actually does work. It does help you in slowing down and being patient. But I think it requires patience to do.
Yeah, you can't just meditate for 30 minutes starting tomorrow if you've never sat with yourself before. Because most people can't sit in silence, which is something we should probably talk about in a future episode. But
I think we kind of did a little bit.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone's lacking a little patience. So we'll move on to a list that I found from the folks over at Calm. I don't know if you guys use that app or if you've seen it before.
I've seen it for sure, but
I don't want to pay for it.
I think everybody with Kaiser gets Calm for free.
Let me look into that. But I haven't not paid for it. But I've heard good things. And so I found this article online that lists 10 ways to cultivate patience for personal growth specifically. Mm-hmm. And I'll read out the list and then we can spend some time talking about a few that I think it would be good for us to highlight. So here's the list, okay, for my listy people. So you want to look for small opportunities to practice patience, practice mindfulness, like meditation, shift your perspective, accept what's out of your control, be kind to yourself, remember what matters most to you, develop a meditation practice, manage stress and anxiety to keep impatience in check, make sure you're getting enough sleep, and create a go-to calming routine for those impatient moments. So I know some of those sounded a little bit repetitive, and I think there's probably because they were just giving a very vague list, and there's like paragraphs. We can link the article if you're interested in reading it. I just didn't feel like listing it all out for y'all today. But I thought it would be good for us to, well, maybe I'll talk about ones that I struggle with.
Sure.
And then maybe you can highlight some that you're working on.
Yeah, I'll have to pull up the list, but continue.
Yeah, so I think what stands out to me the most is just around shifting your perspective and accepting what you can control. Because I think I can often get stuck on like what I think should be, which doesn't matter because that's not the reality. And so thinking about what actions can I take to make this better for myself or make it better for the community or whatever, is a helpful shift that I found. So if I feel like I'm not moving towards my goals fast enough, it's like, okay, well, assess what your actions are. What are your outputs? And are they tracking towards what you want them to achieve? Next would be being kind to yourself. This is something I'm learning in therapy. I am judgmental. Just Judge Judy over here. But I'm the biggest judge and critic of myself. And so I need to just like talk to myself as if I'm my friend, because some of the things I say to myself, I would never say to a friend, you know? Next one is more physical. Getting enough sleep. That's a big one. Making sure I'm like actually resting, fueling my body the way it needs to be. But what I've found to be most helpful, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, is just creating a go-to calming routine or having like go-to things that I do to help keep my stress low. Because you're going to be stressed because life. I can't avoid stress, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, people try.
I think COVID pandemic shelter in place removed a lot of my stress. And then it all came back and I was like, ah! So those are the things on the list that really stick out to me as things that I've found to be helpful in moving towards my long-term goals and being patient while I'm on my way there.
I think the big one for me is accepting what I have control of or what's out of my control, because I think it can be very easy to look at other people and things and be like, if they're not doing that, or if they're not doing that, then I don't have to in some respects, right? So then I'll give up on a goal rather than being patient.
What's an example? Oh.
I think an example could be just when you're trying to move along something, like, say you're trying to grow in your investing.
Okay.
But you see all of your friends are kind of just blowing their money, spending. And so then it's like, should I be patient with these investments?
We're going to be broke in 60 together.
Exactly. So that's one area. But then also on the other side, I can often like want something to change about my relationship and fail to acknowledge what I can do to shift something. Right. So I have control in some of these areas, but instead I'm like, I want you to do this for me. Right. And so that's not necessarily the patience piece, but it is to an extent, because I want something, right? There's something I'm desiring.
And you want it to happen in a certain way.
Right.
And you want a certain person to do it, and it's not you.
So, but if I'm backing up, right? And it could be patience, right? I'm backing up and acknowledging what I have control of. So before I go out and make a complaint, can I back up and slow down, be patient, don't rush it? Because I think it's more the impulsiveness, I think, is what I'm speaking to.
So your rushing is in the moment? Like you have moments of rush.
Yes.
Not like a sustained rush.
Right. I have a feeling when I need to act on that impulse. And then it's like, I forgot all about what my overarching goal was in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So I think that is my main area, because I think I've succeeded at this point about being kind to myself and giving myself grace for things. There might be areas or things I don't like still, right? But I'm not sitting harping on them. I'm doing something about it, or I'm not. Like it is what it is. And I think getting more sleep is something I can always do, obviously. But I don't think it impacts my patience. So those other areas aren't necessarily something where I need to improve just yet. I love a calming space, and I always cultivate one. And then I guess just managing the stress and anxiety, which is, I think, what creates my impulsive.
Right. It's like you reach a stress threshold and you're like, I gotta do something
instant now. I'm pissed.
Solve it, fix it, change it. I feel that. I think I more exist in a state of regular stress, and what I stress about just rotates.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us in general live in a state of constant stress, or
like arousal, just
and we don't necessarily realize it. But if you are like unable to sleep through the night, then you probably do deal with some sort of stress because your body's waking you up in the middle of the night, right? Or if you
Yep.
can't really sit in that silent space, you might be feeling a lot of stress. Because you're rushing or you feel overwhelmed with the tasks that you have in front of you.
Patience is a virtue, but it's hard. But I guess that's why it's a virtue, right? It's like something you're always seeking because you can always be more of it or have more of it.
Yeah, and you might be really great at being patient in certain areas and not in others. And I think this is just speaking to your goals, right? So being able to be patient while you create the life that you want.
Yes.
I guess the other thought I just had was just if you're having trouble slowing down and practicing patience, like, are there things you can do, like slowing down your meals, eat slowly, like being more present in those moments, so then you can start to be more present with your goals and practicing patience with that. Because I think thinking you'll be patient with a long-term goal when you have a hard time just doing a simple task, like even driving. I know I'd be ready. I'd be moving.
She's a road rager.
I can't lie. And when someone's in my way, I'm really irritated. Like, I really want them to move. But those are the times when I'm like, okay, this is your opportunity to take a deep breath and allow that person in front of you to just be slow. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm not in that much of a rush.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just identifying the areas where it might be a low lift for you to practice it and be aware of what it feels like to practice patience. Are you counting to 3? Breathing in, breathing out. Oh, okay, that works to calm me down. Are you counting all the blue things in the room?
Right. But even shifting perspective. Like, I had a car issue where my car wasn't accelerating.
Girl, I got
when
that
I was
same
getting
problem
on the freeway. And so I used to be so irritated with people like that, right? You get on the freeway. Why are you getting on the freeway so freaking slow? That used to really piss me off.
But when you change your perspective.
Right. But like now that it's me, like, getting on the freeway slow, and I'm like, yeah, go around. Then I realized, like, okay, sometimes these people might be getting on the freeway slowly and it's out of their control.
Right. Like, they are trying to make it from A to B. You don't know what their bucket is doing.
Right.
They're just prayerful that they make it.
Right. But it's a good perspective shift and a good practice for me in patience, because I had to, and it sucks when you have to go through something for you to see it from another lens. But obviously sometimes that's just life. But I think it's good in practicing patience. So if you can give yourself little mini areas of recognizing, where am I just impatient all the time? And how can I show up there? Then maybe it will be easier to then use this practice in your overarching goals.
Yeah. I think that's one way to set yourself up for success for when or because we know that stressors are inevitable. I think a flip side to the conversation we're having is maybe around where you can be more actionable. And I think I'm thinking more like career in this example, or I guess I could think of a fitness example too, but sticking with career, like if you want to be in a certain role or achieve a certain status at your company by a certain point, you start to look at the competencies or the skills of that role and take bite-sized portions of that as what you try on. And so maybe you're not a person who's being looked at for promotion, but you can position yourself to be ready for the next opportunity.
Right.
And so you might not be big enough or prepared enough for the goal you really want, that long-term goal, but you can think about what you're doing every day that brings you closer to it.
Right. Are you signing up for trainings or doing certifications or putting yourself out there to lead a training? Are you,
so that when an opportunity does come up, you're available or you're ready? I know I don't know if it was this episode or a previous episode where I talked about, my recent promotion. Part of it was because I was just in the space already, kind of sort of doing some of the things from the job anyway, and taking on responsibilities that maybe weren't mine, but it positioned me well to then be able to take on this next step, which was able to then bring me to some financial goals I had.
Yeah.
And I was not anticipating this being the way I was doing it. I just knew I was going to figure out my business plan and get my content creation, blah, blah, blah. God said, sweetie, you've been doing all this work. You were positioned in this place. You're very intentional about how you built relationships here. This is what you've been waiting for. It's packaged differently, but it's here,
And you have to be flexible and let go of some of what you control.
Absolutely. And just like I I don't know. I know that there's a Bible verse about it, about just like being prepared and being patient and ready and waiting. If I find it, I'll put it somewhere. But I just felt like that's a very good example of just waiting it out and being in the right place, right time. And I don't know.
Practice patience, people. That's the moral of the story today.
It is.
And just acknowledging that patience doesn't always mean not doing anything.
Yes.
It just means shifting your perspective into what you can do right now.
Yeah. And I really love your example around eating and being mindful while you're doing that. Because I'd be like working, eating, typing. When part of why I feel rushed is because I don't actually slow down. That's great. I love that. I'm going to do that.
We gotta slow down.
I'm going to do that after we're done filming.
Yeah, turn off that TV while you eat. You will realize, like, dang, I really have to be entertained and like stressing myself out. We are seeking stress all day long. Just slow. Yesterday with our Wi-Fi was out the entire day. And all day I will be
my first thought was stress.
We will be opening our Wi-Fi, both of us, but I will look over at Brandon. He's opening his Wi-Fi. I'm like, dude, you just checked 20 minutes ago. It literally says it's not coming back on until 11 o'clock. And he's like, shh. I'm like, it's okay. Let's just be slow. It's going to be quiet.
Did y'all play some board games or something?
We left the house.
They said we can't do this slow.
No, we just ended up having other plans. But anyway, yes, we were out of the house, so it worked out. But we could have been slow. And I was like, it's okay.
Maybe that's a topic for another day. Slow activities or having slow life. What does it mean to have a slow life? Ooh, y'all want to talk about that? Let us know. But first, let's get into our Sistas Circle question for the day. What's one area of your life where you've been feeling rushed? And what can you do to either slow down to enjoy the journey or set yourself up for success for the next opportunity? Which one are you leaning towards? Today? Of course, we always do.
I think my thing would probably be in enjoying the journey. I think I need to probably slow down in some ways. I'm so ready to be at the end of my licensing journey. But I obviously still have more to learn. I haven't gone through every experience that a therapist possibly could. And obviously I never will.
Yeah, the variables are endless.
Right. And so I just need to be patient right now and enjoy this journey and slow down. And I think I've been trying to end each work day with like, what is something that I enjoyed today? Or how did my mindset this morning was, no, I don't feel like going to work, blah, 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 shift after a session. Because usually after a session, I'm like, going about my day with a smile.
Well, it's good to know you practice what you preach, girl, because you be telling me to do that, and it works.
It does.
It works. I'll be like, I don't want to go. I'm miserable. I'd rather stay in my bed. After 30 minutes, I have to play 5 minutes at wherever I'm at. I'm like, oh, okay.
Because really, the transition is what's hard, not necessarily that you don't want to do it.
You're smart.
Thanks.
For the first time ever, I think, maybe not ever, but for the first time in a while, we are aligned on this one. I'm also on team slow down and enjoy the journey. I don't need to be overstimulated, moving, working, shaking all the time, because rest is a part of my goals. And so if it's not a part of my plan, it's not a part of my plan each week, I'm not doing it right. So slowing down and enjoying the journey is one way to rest my brain. So I'd like to do more of that.
Yeah, and there's just also time for everything. So just allowing yourself to enjoy it, because your time will come.
It will come.
I guess we can end there. So thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and we'll see you in the next one.
And don't forget to let us know how you're cultivating patience right now.
Yes. All right.
Bye.